What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some alternative content for you guys today, seeing as Bryan Gil looking like he is on his way to Valencia now, and Antonio Conte did say if he leaves we have to replace him. We are looking and delving deep into Serie A and looking at 6 players that could potentially fill the void that Bryan Gil is going to leave within the squad. We're looking at attacking midfielders, we're looking at all sorts of attacking midfielders, but we'll get into that in a second. But I'm quite excited for this video. We'll bring you stats, we'll bring you actual goal clips as well. So yeah, let's get straight into it, and let's start off with player number 1, and that is Domenico Berardi of Sassuolo. Obviously 28 years old, as you can see on your screen. An absolute goal contribution machine, really, when you're looking at his stats. He's played 273 games in Serie A, 102 goals and 73 assists.
15 goals and 17 assists last season as well for Sassuolo. So clearly a very talented right winger, predominantly plays off the right, has also played occasionally through the middle, but
and
off the left as well, but predominantly plays on the right. He's always one that's been linked with a move from Sassuolo for a long time, but it hasn't quite happened for him. He's got a contract up until 2027, so he's got 5 years left on his current contract, so there's no kind of pressure from that point of view to sell. So probably will cost a lot of money if Tottenham do really want him. But I do think, seeing as he has that Sassuolo, he's probably one where if we did really, if we were certain that we wanted him, then we could probably push the boat out and sign him. But it would probably cost about 40 million, I would assume.
Well, look, I think what happened though with him, because he came through the ranks at Sassuolo, gets his transfer to Juventus, and then ends up back at Sassuolo.
Yeah, it just didn't quite happen for him at Juventus for one reason or another. I'm not quite sure. You know, in Italy, it's always the dealings I never quite understand. You know, they sign him part ownership and all these kind of different things. But yeah,
Paratici probably signed him for Juve.
And he'll probably know a lot about him. Look, he's a quality player, but would he be the right fit for the Premier League? I don't know.
Well, let's go and have a look at some of his clips. We've got some goals, we've got some assists in there, so let's go and have a look. Yeah, so that was a mixture of Domenico Berardi's a few goals and assists, sample size from the last couple of years. From that, I mean, he looks like he's got a wonder of a left foot, and he looks like he's got some really good close control and ball carrying skills to his name as well.
Yeah, definitely. So he's always been a very talented player, but there's always been question marks whether he can make that step up. So I don't think it's one I can see us splashing big money on.
Yeah, fair enough. But let us know your thoughts on Berardi in the comment section below. Would you like to see him in a Spurs shirt before the end of the window? Let's move on to number 2 now. And number 2 is we're going to talk about Rafael Liao of AC Milan, 23 years old, big market value of 63 million. And he's sending a few shockwaves through Serie A the last couple of years. Definitely one of the standout performers in an AC Milan title-winning side last season. Predominantly plays as a striker, can play off the left as well. In terms of stats, he got 11 goals last season, 6 the year before, 6 the year before that. And then before that, he was with Lille in the French league. What do you know about Rafael Liao?
Yeah, look, he played it says here he played every game as a left winger last season.
All right.
14 goals, 12 assists. Very impressive for a player who's only 23 years of age. He's one that's expected to have a massive future. I mean, he's already kind of coming into his own now, but I think he's on the brink of exploding, and he's that kind of talent. He's I think Portuguese international, isn't he? He's one that's ready. I think he's got a few caps for Portugal.
9, yeah.
But he's ready to break onto the scene. He's one which a couple seasons ago he was kind of just simmering, and now he's getting the goals and assists which his talent deserves. Again, he's got a good contract. He's worth a lot of money. It's probably going to cost at least 100 million euros, I would say, to get him out of the club.
Contract, to be fair, 2024.
So a couple years left. But I reckon it'll cost a lot of money to get him out of the door.
It will cost a lot of money. With a market value at 63, with them just winning the league, you're probably looking at in excess of 70 million, 80 million, something like that.
Yeah, 100 million euros, I think.
Bring him through the door, yeah. But anyway, let's go and have a look at some of his clips. Wow. I mean, with Rafael Liao, he looks like, big, tall, strong, good with the ball at his feet, got skills, knows where the goal is, looks like he's got good finishing on him. I mean, he's one, seems like a bit of a pipe dream at the moment, but with the money we have, I mean, we should be able to splash out on these kind of players.
Yeah, he's a proper talent, Rafael Liao, that's for sure. I think with our forward line, I do think we're willing to splash out. I don't know if we'll splash out the money required to get Rafael Liao through the door, but I do think we would be prepared to spend money on another attacker, like upwards of maybe 40, 50. Like Liao, that's a big outlay for a player who there isn't an obvious place for him in the team. Obviously, he's going to be a great option. He's going to get a lot of game time in Champions League and whatnot. So I'm not going to say like it wouldn't be a great option to have, but I just don't see how a deal gets done for him.
Yeah, I kind of agree, which is a shame because he's probably one of the ones out of this video who I'd want the most. But look, we'll move on and we'll talk about a player who we've been speaking about a lot over the past couple of months in Nicolo Zaniolo of Roma. It does seem like Jose Mourinho and Roma want to keep him. Doesn't seem like he's pushing for a move as such. But we'll talk about him anyway with a market value of 30 million. an attacking midfielder, can play on the right-hand side as well. I think he's a top talent. Has had those ACL injuries to talk about as well, but I think that when you're talking about Zaniolo right now, because of these ACL injuries and because he didn't have the strongest season, I think you can probably get him at a decent fee, but you're probably looking at, over the next couple of years, his fee rocketing.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's looked very sharp in pre-season as well, so maybe that's evidence that he is getting back to his best. Obviously, in the Conference League, he was a massive reason why Roma won the Conference League last season, scoring 5 goals, getting 3 assists in 10 games, and 1 in the final as well. So it's 8 goal contributions in 10 games in the Conference League. So he was a massive reason why they were able to lift that trophy. And obviously, Mourinho and Roma are massive believers in him. He's was before he got those bad injuries, he was set up to be one of the best talents to come out of Italy in a long time. Now those injuries are set him back, but doesn't mean he can't still get back to how he was playing. So I think now, if we want to get him, now's the time, because I do think his price will rocket a lot higher. But again, they want 50 million euros, they're saying, don't they? So whether Tottenham are prepared to pay that for a player with his injury record is going to be a difficult one to justify.
It could be one if we could persuade Roma to part on a loan deal with an option to buy. That could be an option, but I just can't see them doing that, to be fair.
No, why would they? There's no reason for them to do it.
Exactly. But anyway, let's go and see what he's all about. Let's see what clips he's got. And that was Nicolo Zaniolo. Not as many clips there as maybe previously with the other players, but I think that he's definitely a player that could explode in the next year or so. Absolute supreme technical ability as about him. An amazing shot with his left foot as well. And I think as well, this guy would be an absolutely brilliant signing to bring in.
Yeah, and I think he would settle in into our side really well as well. It's just a matter of convincing Roma to part way with him for a deal that might not suit them.
Let's move on. Let's talk about another player who's been on everyone's lips recently with the current links with Ruslan Malinowsky of Atalanta, 29 years of age, an attacking midfielder with a market value of 25 years old. And when you talk about someone that has a dynamite shot, this guy epitomizes that. I mean, what power this guy has in his shot is unbelievable. The amount of bangers this guy scores is second to none, and he's got supreme set piece taking ability as well. And I really like the idea of Malinowsky coming to Spurs.
Yeah, he's got a dynamite left foot. Obviously, Atalanta are a very offensive side, so he's done quite well fitting into their system. He's fairly versatile, can play central, can play off the right as well, cutting inside on that left foot. And he's always a massive danger in and around the penalty area when he has that kind of power that he has. And he scores in big games. He scored a few against Juventus, I remember, in big games when they were going for the title and a couple of years ago. And he scored against Juventus last season as well. So he definitely has that about him. He's played Champions League football for Atalanta as well. So the only downside is, I guess, he's 29. But it hasn't been tons of interest around Europe for him. Is there a reason for that? But in terms of like him fitting into Conte's system, he's a very hard worker. He's never a liability. He's quite good at pressing and stuff like that. And then obviously he's got a great left foot. So he's one I would like, and I think as well he would accept his role. He'd kind of know what he's brought in to do. So I don't think he would be kicking up a fuss if he's not always in the starting lineup. So from that point of view, it's good. I do feel like, though, if we sign him, I think we would like him, but I don't know how long he would be at Tottenham for.
Yeah, that's the honest truth. But I think as a kind of maybe stopgap in that position for the next couple of years to kind of play competition to Kulusevski, and also an option to bring on maybe when we're struggling in games to find a goal, I think it would be a really good signing. And when you're talking about someone to come and play competition to Kulusevski is on massive form and a supreme talent, and who's going to be here for a long time. So I wouldn't mind a player of this kind of ilk, 29, to come and maybe provide competition for him. But let's go and have a look at some of those bangers he has scored. And that was Ruslan Malinowsky. I mean, what goals there were in that. I mean,
what a dynamite left foot that guy has.
And that's only a small sample size because he scored so many more. And obviously there was an assist in there as well and a free kick in there that didn't quite go in. That was hitting the post. So, I mean, you could see just from that small sample size, he would excite a lot of fans with that dynamite shot. And what a good option to bring on chasing a game in the last 20 minutes.
And with a year left on his contract as well.
Yeah.
He's definitely one that seems achievable.
Yeah, I completely agree. Next up, we're going to talk about Lozano of Napoli, 27 years of age, 27 million market value, plays predominantly on the right wing. He made his name at PSV, really, having 2 dynamite seasons there, scoring 17 goals in each season. Came to Napoli in 1920 season and flattered to deceive a little bit with only 4 goals in that season, but then picked it up in his next season at Napoli with 11 goals, and then last season did only score 5. I do remember, was it in the last World Cup where everyone was talking about him and he had quite a good time
World Cup 2018, yeah.
It was Mexico, wasn't it? So I think, I'm not too sure about Lozano. I think that he is a good player, but he's a bit hot and cold for me.
Yeah, he obviously had a great World Cup with Mexico. I think scoring the winner against Germany, and when Mexico beat them 1-0. He's, as you say, he's kind of been hot and cold since signing from Napoli. He's quite a good winger, can play left or right. I don't think maybe he's hit the heights they would have hoped he has at Napoli. but he's
And
also
they signed him for 40 million.
yeah, they signed him for a lot of money, but he's also one who has a lot of potential, and he's quite a decent finisher when he gets in that position, and he's got really good pace to get in behind defences and pretty good dribbling ability. So if you can maybe get that consistency out of him, you know, not last season. First of all, last season 5 goals, 6 assists, not horrendous, but only one goal in 6 appearances in Europe, which wasn't great. But the season before that, 11 goals is pretty good for a wide man. So it's not like he's had an absolute terrible time in Italy. But when they start with the goals he was scoring in Holland and how much they signed him for, probably expected a bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that. And obviously, for his country, he's made 56 appearances and 15 goals in that. But let's go and have a look and see what he's all about. And that was Lozano. I mean, some nice clips there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Look, as I said, he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of pace, but for one reason or another, he hasn't quite married that into consistent output yet at Napoli. Maybe with Insigne going, maybe it's time for him to leave his shell, and maybe he can explode this season. But is he one I would splash money on? Maybe we can get him for a good deal. Maybe that is one I wouldn't be too against.
All right, that's interesting. Let's move on to the last and final player we're going to talk about today, and that is Kacanoglu of Inter Milan, one of the players that made the trip. Well, I was going to say trip over from AC Milan to Inter Milan, but they literally play in the same stadium. But he did play for AC Milan and did move to Inter Milan. Fairly good stats, to be fair, for a player like him. 7 goals last season. And then for AC Milan, he was getting around between 6 and 9 goals. He did have a few seasons where he got 3 and 4 as well. But I think he's a player, again, with supreme quality in striking a ball, which you'll see in a second. But what do you think about Kacanoglu?
Yeah, he's always one who's made his name from free kicks and set pieces. I think there was one set piece he took for Hamburg which went viral. It was like near the halfway line. He was able to put it in the top corner. It was like an incredible goal. And AC Milan, for one reason or another, allowed him to go to Inter, and he helped them win the league. 7 goals and 13 assists for Inter Milan, helping them to the Serie A title. Sorry, no, they finished second last season, didn't they? They didn't win the title.
AC won the title.
AC won the title, but he
left there, and then his old club won.
Exactly, but I think he won the title maybe the season before that
with Inter. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's only been there. Well, I can't remember now.
This is his second year at AC in Inter.
Yeah. So he won the title before that. He's a player who's really good on both feet.
He didn't, because at AC Milan he didn't win the title, and then because Inter won it, and then he moved to Inter, and then AC won the title.
That's right. So. Right. So he's been a bit unlucky with his title challenges, but he's wherever he's been, he's always supplied regular goals and assists. pretty much. He was very good at Leverkusen as well, out in Germany. And he's also fairly versatile in terms of he can play central midfield in a 3. He can also play attacking midfield. He plays off the left sometimes, although I'm not a massive fan of him in that position. So he's one who definitely Conte will know, and definitely one which I think in terms of what we need in a player, he definitely suits that. But I think maybe question marks over his defensive output.
I think in terms of players like Antonio Conte likes to have in terms of mentality, I think he's one that definitely he would like to bring in that sense. He's been captain of Inter Milan before, and he's got some good leadership qualities about him and really strong head about him. And I think if a deal could be done. He hasn't been at his club for too long, so it might be difficult to get him out of there. But I think if a deal can be done, it's probably one that Conte would actually welcome. But let's go and see some of the stuff he's been doing on the pitch. And that was another mixture of Kacanoglu, what he's been up to, goals and assists in there. Some bangers in there, wasn't there?
Likes a shot from outside the box, didn't he? Absolutely loves it.
What
Left
a
foot,
rocket
right
of
foot.
a shot he has. I think Malinowsky's probably got a harder shot, but in terms of maybe accuracy and how often he can get it in the back of the net from those ranges, he might be better.
Yeah, potentially. I think so.
But there you have it. In terms of those 6 players, who's number 1 on your list?
In terms of who I'd want to bring in or who I think is most realistic?
Well, give us one of each.
Because Liao obviously would be my number 1. I don't think he's realistic. In terms of who I think maybe a deal could be done, who I really want through the door, probably I think Kacanoglu. I think we can get a deal done for Kacanoglu if we really want to. So I think he'd be my number 1.
Even though he's only been at his club for a year.
Yeah, he likes to move, doesn't he?
Interesting. I mean, I'd agree with you. Number 1 should be Rafael Liao in terms of who we would want, but I do think he's slightly out of our price range. And then if it's to pick, it's got to be between Kacanoglu and Malinowsky. I think Malinowsky's probably the easier one to get. Kacanoglu's probably the better player. So which one are you going to take? So let me know in the comment section below, who would you prefer out of those 6 players? Let me know who would be your number 1 choice, and also let me know who you think would be the most realistic target as well. But I hope you enjoyed this kind of content from us. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.